38 past the hour, we have breaking news in the Hamas attack on Israel. New today, the U.S. is moving Navy ships and military aircraft closer to Israel as a show of support. Munitions are already on the way. And joining me right now, MSNBC military analyst, retired General Barry McCaffrey. General, sir, always good to see you. We have Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who today confirmed, as you know, that there could be Americans among the hostages. So could the ships and the planes that the U.S. is planning to move closer to Israel right now, could they be intended for a possible evacuation effort of them? We're already fairly certain that Americans living there who may need to be evacuated would be readily able to get on these ships at some point. But when it comes to rescuing hostages, what are the options?
Well, I think the hostage situation is the absolute key dilemma that the IDF is now facing. It's hard for me to understand how dozens of hostages now in the Gaza Strip, to include possibly Americans, 7 are reported missing, 4 killed, would be recovered without a massive ground intervention using armor and infantry forces to try and gain control of the surface level and then find them in tunnels and cellars. So this is going to be a bloody mess, catastrophic for the civilian population of the Palestinians, as well as the IDF fighting their way in. But that powerful carrier strike group, along with U.S. Air Force F-35, F-15 squadrons, F-16 squadrons, probably moving into Italy, they are there for more than a show of force or a potential non-combatant evacuation. The other shoe we're waiting to see if it drops is, will Hezbollah intervene out of Lebanon with their 100,000 some odd rockets? Will the West Bank ignite? And what will the Syrians and the Egyptians do? So I would just suggest to you our support of Israel will be absolute. And if we see Syrian military intervention, active Iranian intervention, we'll go to war.
I'm just trying to process what you've just said, sir, because that has not been something that has been said on this broadcast or anywhere, I believe, on behalf of the Biden administration. So you are surmising that if it were to escalate, that the U.S. military would become involved. Are you making this statement from your own experience, sir? Are you making this statement from having spoken with anybody in the military community that is currently contemplating potential scenarios?
There is absolutely no way that any U.S. official would make the statement I just made. What I am saying is that if the existence of the state of Israel is at stake, if the Syrian military intervened, if Hezbollah started overwhelming the Israelis, in my judgment, at that point, we would consider actively intervening with air power, air and naval power.
So you have excluded the possibility of ground forces. Is there anything that could change that calculus?
I doubt it. The IDF is an absolute first-rate military force. Their problem is going to be getting into Gaza. That's it. That's the only. They can counter cross-border invasions of military units fairly effectively. Very well trained, very well led, very well equipped. What they can't do is get into 2 million people packed into the Gaza Strip and find hostages without going house to house, basement to basement. So that's going to be a combined arms military intervention. I don't see any way they're going to get out of this. They're willing to take the casualties. And now the corollary problem, of course, is how do you minimize collateral casualties, killed and wounded among Palestinian civilians who are packed in around these potential targets deliberately by Hamas? So I think this is a very risky situation, not just for Israel, but for the surrounding countries. And I might add that the Egyptians made some very hostile public statements yesterday to Israel in public, essentially saying, if you conduct disproportionate casualties in Gaza, we may consider action. So A lot of governments are watching this very closely. I'm very reassured that we've got Secretary Tony Blinken, Secretary Lloyd Austin, steady hands. The Biden administration's always been very cautious. So there won't be any rash actions out of us, but the Israelis have their back against the wall. This is a tragic situation that's going to get worse before it gets better.
General, it goes without saying this is a tinderbox, and the potential that you are articulating for all-out war in the Middle East is extraordinary. If the United States military, as you are saying, potentially could participate via air, via naval forces, would this be a coalition of communities, of states supporting as well? I mean, is this something that the U.S. would do alone, or UK, France, Germany, other countries that would be supporting? Would you expect them to come as well?
I don't think we're even remotely near that question yet. I think the deterrence factor is what the Biden administration's after right now. They want to make sure that the Syrian military and Hezbollah don't enter this fray. If they do, it's going to be a lethal threat to the existence of Israel. Hamas itself can't bring down the Israeli state. They can conduct terrorist operations, these brutal scenes we're seeing on video. So we're waiting to see and deter the Syrians, Hezbollah, and the West Bank. That's the purpose of the U.S. and our allies at this point.
Absolutely. It has been a sobering conversation about the hypothetical, what could happen. General Barry McCaffrey, thank you for that. Let me also just say, you did give us those numbers of 7 Americans missing, 4 Americans killed as hostage. Can you tell us very quickly where you got that information? We did not have that confirmed, sir.
Yeah, I don't remember right off the internet. It's being reported by some fairly reliable media source. But again, they don't know. I don't think the Israelis have a clue how many hostages are actually been taken.